Hi, welcome to Loft 801. My name is Diego, and today I'm talking about Eden. It's a dark survival thriller taking a paradise premise and slowly turning it into a pressure cooker. Eden is inspired by the real-life Galapagos Affair, a true story of several European settlers who disappeared on the Galapagos island of Floriana in the 1930s. Quick heads up, this review may contain the occasional minor spoiler, but I'll do my best to avoid them. Eden is basically a utopia meets reality set on a remote island where a handful of Europeans, each for different reasons, try to abandon modern society and rebuild life from scratch, and almost immediately you feel the movie's thesis forming. The island isn't the enemy, the people are. The core setup revolves around multiple arrivals, different personalities, different values, different definitions of freedom, and the movie gets a lot of mileage out of how these definitions clash. There are early sequences where survival almost feels romantic, building shelter, hauling supplies, learning the rhythms of the place. It's the kind of fresh start fantasy that you can almost understand, especially with how Howard frames the island like a promise. Then the film starts layering in tension through status games and control. Not action movie control, but social control. Who has the knowledge? Who has the resources? Who has the charisma? There's a stretch where community begins to look less like a community and more like a little kingdom, and the movie becomes a series of escalating frictions. Arguments about work, boundaries, entitlement, what's fair, what's necessary, and what's mine. What I appreciate is that Eden doesn't need jump scare conflict. It's often conflict in inches, resentment, pride, humiliation, jealousy, and paranoia stacking up until it's hard to remember what the original dream even was. What I don't love is that this movie can feel like it's circling around the same emotional drain for a while. The runtime stretches the material and the story can get repetitive in its misery. I didn't hate that per se, but it also doesn't make for the most engaging movie. Tone-wise, it's consistent and feels like an adult version of Lord of the Flies. So if you like bleak, character-driven spirals, you might like this movie more than I did. Theme-wise, the big idea is pretty simple and brutal. You can't outrun yourself. Everyone comes to the island trying to escape something, society, shame, weakness, modernity, or whatever. But the movie keeps proving that when you strip away the rules, you don't become pure. You become more yourself. The cast for this movie is pretty stacked. Judelaw, anadearmas, vanessakirby, sydneysweeney, danielbruhl, and Felix Kammermer. Law plays the kind of guy who thinks he's above everyone, intellectual, rigid, and self-mythologizing. He's good at making that arrogance feel believable instead of comic book villainy. When he's in lecturing mode, you can feel how his confidence becomes a weapon, especially in scenes where he turns survival into a moral hierarchy of who's strong, who's weak, and who deserves to be there. Anadearmas is easily the most electric presence in this movie. She is pure seductive chaos. She has scenes where she walks into a space and instantly changes the temperature. She's all cold smiles, promises, and snobby, and you can tell half the island wants to worship her and the other half wants to throw her into the ocean. Her charisma, paired with her unpredictability, makes the film feel dangerous. vanessakirby is strong, but she doesn't get enough to do relative to how involved she is in the start of the movie. She's grounded and emotionally intelligent, but certainly underserved. Sydneysweeney is the emotional anchor. She has these moments of simple looks, small hesitations where you can see someone realizing there's something wrong with the island, with this dream. I think she really sells the exhaustion, and I have no complaints. Danielbruhl brings a worn and anxious edge to the film. He's good at playing a guy whose confidence is paper thin, and honestly, he's the character I was rooting for the most. All the characters and supporting players help make the island feel populated by different survival philosophies rather than just good people versus bad people. Visually, the island is temptingly beautiful. I love the wide and establishing shots that make everyone look small, like the island is indifferent to their dreams. I love the natural lighting because it helps give the island a paradise fantasy feel at first. I love how in some scenes you can almost feel the sweat, salt, and grit. Although this film is set in the Galapagos, it was actually shot on Australia's Golden Coast. I appreciate the on-site filming because it helps make the movie feel real and tangible. There are tons of survival shows out there. This movie gets the survival realism right with tangible lived-in spaces, rough shelters, and makeshift domestic routines. I like the slow accumulation of tools and habits. It makes the experiment of surviving feel possible. The score is composed by the legendary Hans Zimmer. When I say that, you might have some bombastic expectations in your head, but the score in this movie is much more restrained. It's often atmospheric, tense, and pulse-like rather than melodic. It's there to build unease and momentum, not to make you think of space. God, I love that Interstellar soundtrack. For a movie that's so dialogue and conflict-driven, I appreciate that the score takes a back seat by supporting the scenes and not overpowering them. Instead, the score lets the human ugliness sit front and center. The final thing I want to say is that if this story and the missing settlers interests you, there's a documentary you should look into. The Galapagos Affair, Satan Came to Eden. Again, this is a real mystery-filled saga on the Floriana island, and nobody knows the actual truth of what happened. There are lots of contradictions between Dory Ritter and Margaret Whitmer's tales. To wrap it all up, Eden is a movie I respect a smidge more than I fully love. It's well acted, beautifully shot, and thematically clear in what it's trying to say. That idea of paradise collapses the moment ego, control, and human nature enter the picture. When the film leans into its performances, its oppressive atmosphere, and that slow, inch-by-inch erosion of trust, it's genuinely compelling. Where it stumbles is in its pacing and repetition. The misery sometimes plateaus instead of escalating, and the movie doesn't always deepen its ideas as much as it could. Still, there's something haunting about it, the way it strips civilization down to its ugliest instincts and leaves you sitting with that discomfort. Eden may not be the easiest watch, but it's a satisfying and thoughtful adult survival story that will linger in your head and make you want to investigate the real-life disappearances on Floriana Island. Thank you for listening to my review of Eden. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you did not enjoy the content, thank you for sticking around. As always, I would love to read what you have to say, so leave a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Also, if there's something you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know and I will do my best to get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, then you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast, Good Friends. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Diego and I will see you next time.